Hey guys, it's Dan Vessel here, and sorry for the long awaited wait for part 2 of how to make the Phantom. Now, if you haven't watched part 1 on how to make the Phantom from Valorant, I would recommend so because in this video, I'm going to be going over how to do the smaller details, the red dot sight, and how to make the full-length suppressor. So please watch part 1, and I will leave a link down in the description so you guys can go watch that. But anyways, let's get right into the video. The first thing you guys are going to do is grab your template with the red dot sight and the suppressor alongside with 6mm craft foam. Next, cut out the red dot sight and put it to the side. We're going to be cutting out the template for the suppressor. The next thing you guys are going to do is cut the dash marks in the middle of the template. You should have two rectangles at this point, a thick one and a thin one. Now when it comes to tracing out the two rectangle pieces, you're going to trace out 3 thin ones and 2 thick ones. I just did a mistake when recording this part of the video. I forgot to trace out the third one. The next thing you guys are going to do is grab your template, and there should be remaining dash marks on it. The next thing you guys are going to do with that is simply just cut out those dash marks, and at the edge of your rectangle pieces, you're going to trace down a line. Now for me, I just eyeballed it, and you can do that too. After tracing down on the long side of the rectangle, on the end of the rectangle, you're going to trace down 2 shorter lines. After you have all 5 of your pieces, 3 thin pieces and 2 thick pieces, what you're going to simply do is cut at a 45-degree angle with a Dremel. And now we are on to the assembly of the suppressor. Now I used super glue instead of hot glue. The reason why is because using super glue for this process is actually pretty easy. The next thing I would recommend you guys do when assembling all of these pieces together is to simply start off with the 2 thicker pieces together first. Glue those together, and then the whole entire process of this is going to be easier for you. After you guys are done gluing down all 5 of your pieces for your suppressor, you should get a pentagon looking shape. After that, you're going to simply just take that pentagon looking shape and trace it onto craft foam. and you want to trace out 2 pieces for both the front and the back of the suppressor. And this next step is going to be like what we did with the previous steps. You're going to simply trace down a line on the edge of the piece, and you're going to bevel it with your Dremel at a 45-degree angle. Next, you guys are simply just going to glue on those 2 pieces to your suppressor. Okay, so this next part does require a bit more technique, and I would recommend to just look closely at the video because me trying to explain this is going to be harder. Take your sanding bit, you're going to loosen the screw, push it up halfway, and retighten the screw. After you do this, make sure that your Dremel is on the lowest setting. Now, once you do that, you're going to simply take the tip of your drill bit or your sanding bit, and you're going to push it up against the flat piece of your foam. Now, when you turn on your Dremel for the first time, you're going to notice that it isn't going to spin. Don't worry, this is fine. Now, what you're going to simply do is just push away with the Dremel slightly until the Dremel starts to spin. Now this will help create a score in the foam, and once you take it off, you should be able to see score marks being created onto the foam. Now after that, you simply want to increase the rotation speed of your Dremel slightly. Do it in small increments, don't do it like full speed. Now you guys will start to notice that you are going through the foam little by little, and I'd say if you're halfway through the foam, you can go at a higher speed, but not full speed. Also, if my description on how to do this technique confused you guys, please rewind the video and watch it multiple times if you have to. I would recommend that you guys simply just start practicing on scrap pieces of foam and then continue on with this video. The next thing that you guys are going to do, you're going to grab your rear sight and your front sight, and you're going to simply trace them out onto EVA foam. You want 2 rear sight pieces and 1 front sight piece. And for all 3 pieces, cut off the textured side too. And now we're going to move on to the red dot. So for the red dot, grab 1/2 inch thick foam, and then you're going to simply trace out 1 inch for the width, and I'd say 2 to 3 inches for the length, and then simply cut out the trace piece. So for this next part, you're gonna have to eyeball it. So on one side of the rectangle, simply just make a line, and then on the other side, you're gonna make a V. Simply look at the video for reference. After that, you're gonna simply grab your blade, and you're gonna be cutting at a 45-degree angle. And now we're going to be moving on to the smaller details. And to be honest, I'm not going to be covering every small minute detail. I'm just going to give you guys the ones that I think are the most important. So for the charging handle, you guys can make any shape that you want, or you can just follow my example that I am showing at the moment. And now we're moving on to the trigger guard. So for the trigger guard, grab out the template, simply just cut it out and then trace it onto, I'd say, 1/2 inch thick foam. And you're going to cut off the textured side. Now I tried cutting close to the textured side as much as possible because I didn't want the piece to be even more flimsy. And now we're going to be moving on to the mag release and the fire select. So for this, grab craft foam or your 6mm craft foam, and then you're going to trace out the fire select and the mag release. And you're going to simply cut out those pieces. Now if all of your pieces do look ugly, you can simply grab a Dremel and clean them up. And for this next and final part, we are going to be starting to score. So if you don't know what scoring is cutting the top layer of the foam and then adding heat to it to add even more detail. Now this is going to be hard for me to explain, so please look at the video for reference. So you're going to grab the template for the suppressor, the most detailed part, and you're going to cut off each piece little by little, and you're going to trace it onto the suppressor. Now after you're done tracing, you're going to grab your blade and you're just going to simply just cut the surface of the traced areas. Now for this next part of the video, I want you guys to follow my video as an example as to where I added the score marks. After you are done scoring the trace areas, simply grab your heat gun and you're going to put it on the lowest setting, and you're going to simply just go over the scored areas lightly. Now you can put the heat gun on the highest setting, but if you put too much heat on the scored area, it will expand too much to where it just looks ugly. After you're done adding heat to the scored areas, you're going to simply just start to glue everything together. And you guys have made it towards the end of part 2 of the Phantom tutorial. I don't know why I had to think about that. But anyways, I want to apologize for you guys as to why it's taking me this long to release part 2 of the tutorial for the Phantom. Again, I am so sorry that it's been basically a whole year, and many of you guys have just been hopefully patiently waiting for me. Some of you guys have really wanted me to release part 2 as fast as possible, and I did want to do that as well. But if you looked at my update video, which was released like 6 months ago, I went into the reason was to the delay. Basically, I started a new job, and to add on to that, sometimes my job requires me to work up to 10-hour shifts for like a whole week or even a whole month, which really does suck for anybody. And I work a physical labor job, and it really does suck on my body. So every time I come home, I don't want to work on anything. I just want to rest. So again, I am sorry that it's taking me this long to release part 2 of the Phantom video. Another thing is that there's actually going to be a part 3, and don't worry, it's going to be much shorter as far as me making it, because in part 3, I'm literally just going to go over how to seal up the seams of your prop. Now in this video, I know I didn't go over every single small minute detail. I didn't even glue on the suppressor, because I feel like gluing on the suppressor is actually pretty easy. You just have to make a small little barrel, kind of cut it at the slant at the front, and then you just glue on the suppressor, and there you go, you have your suppressor. other smaller details like the front handguard. There's like a little Picatinny rail at the bottom. There's even more detail at the front handguard right here. And I was just like, okay, that's just too much smaller details that I feel like aren't really too important unless you want to make the base model like very accurately. But to me, I just wanted to focus on the more important smaller details like the buttstock, the trigger guard, the mag release to fire select, the magazine itself, the ejection port, and even the charging handle. I just wanted to, oh yeah, and the red dot and the iron sights as well. Those were the only important smaller details that I think were important. I said that twice already. So yeah, those were the only ones I wanted to really focus on. Because at the end of the day, this is your guys' prop and you can do whatever you want for it. I just really wanted to show you guys how I make mine. There's probably some other people out there who have completely redesigned their Phantom prop and probably have even made a copy of a skin of the Phantom from Valorant. So yeah, that's all I just really wanted to talk about. Again, I've said this so many times already. I am so sorry that it's taking me this long to make the video. Please stick around for basically part 3. Don't worry, part 3 is going to take much shorter, like I said again. And yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.